Melvin Rodriguez, co-founder of Mielle Organics, man of God. You ready?
Let's do it. Never forget this moment. She said, look at me. You will be the one to change the trajectory of our family.
This delay is not your denial. It's just preparing you for what's to come.
I call that the waiting room. What if God has something so big for me that he put me in the waiting room to prepare for it?
My wife and I have always been aligned dreamers. To the public eye, we're growing, doing extraordinary things, but on the back end, we were suffering. We were going through it. We were 2-3 million in the hole.
So how do you get yourself out of that space?
It's time for something that's just for us. It's time to unlock something new. I'm your host, Melvin Rodriguez, and you're tuned in to The Bless Code. All right. Let's do it.
Melvin Rodriguez, co-founder of Mielle Organics, founder of Stay Blessed Studios, husband, father, man of God, serial entrepreneur, investor, all of the things.
Wow.
You ready?
Wow. Wow. The way you said that, it's amazing to hear it on the other side. Because when you're operating in the moment, in the now, and you're going and don't realize all the things you're doing and you're juggling, it's wow. I'm doing all that?
Your I am list is long.
Wow.
So you deserve your flowers, one.
Thank you.
So I have to start here. I've had the unique opportunity of working alongside you for a good portion of the year now. You, your team, your network, those that support you, those around you, your friends. And I don't think a single person that's been connected with you would not say that you abundantly lead and operate and surrender to your faith every day, all day, and everything that you do. And so my question is, were you raised that way? Was there a moment in time where you were like, my life has to look this way? I know that this is the way. Like, what was the moment for you?
You know, that's a great question, Jessica. And actually, for me, no, I wasn't raised that way. I wasn't raised
Me neither.
specifically in church. We would go to church traditionally and on, Easter and periodically throughout the year, but I wasn't rooted and grounded in church. But I had prayer warriors. My grandmother, for example, Eunice, was a prayer warrior. And even in fact, at the age of 5 years old, never forget this moment. She spoke life over me. And literally one day I was at her house and they used to call me man, little man. And she said, man, get in here, right now. And 5 years old. And she said, look at me, as I'm looking at you, look at me. She says, you will be the one. I was 5 years old. You will be the one. You will be the one to change the trajectory of our family. I'm 5 years old. I have no idea what
I'm
that
thinking
is.
about my 7-year-old son, and my son would be like, okay, I'm about to go outside.
Right. So I'm just like, yeah, okay, whatever, whatever like that. So, but this was at an early age. As I mentioned, didn't grow up in a church. And what I'll say ultimately for me, what enabled or activated my faith in my adulthood was our son. He will forever be with us. And he is my angel. And he is outside of God where I as a man find my strength. And during that darkest moment in my life, in dealing with that with my wife, of course, I got saved. I surrendered to Christ and accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior. So that was the turning point for me in terms of activating my faith that has encouraged me daily and reminding me daily of the importance of faith and trusting God every step of the way, is what I would say.
So I'm listening to this, and I know that that's part of your origin story, right? And the story about your son. You guys have had such incredible success behind that. And it's just so interesting. And you have an episode with John Onwuchekwa where you talk about grief and the loss of someone and how grief can be bittersweet. It creates an opportunity. It obviously is a pain that people cannot explain. It is also something that is inevitable. And somehow, some way, it sometimes creates a purpose in us. And this has created such a unique purpose for you, your wife, your family, the impact that you guys have, and a lot of success, truly. Is there a time, and we just know this from worldly views, right? Has there been a time where it's been difficult to like hold on to or maintain your faith amidst all the success and all the things working out? Like, how do you kind of get back or stay grounded or remind yourself in the midst of the blessings?
Absolutely. Obviously, the flesh is weak, and I acknowledge that. And I'll give an example. For example, in growing Mielle, to the public eye, we're growing, doing extraordinary things, and which was actually happening. But on the back end, we were suffering, and people were seeing all the glory. They were seeing all these wonderful things, but on the back end, the story had begun to be daunting for us. There was a time where literally, on the financial side, we were $2 to $3 million in the hole. So we were growing and scaling.
People do not know this about product-based businesses.
But EBITDA margins were extremely low. And so as we began to continue to operate with the notion of we knew what we knew, but we also knew what we didn't know. And the things that we didn't know had begun to catch up with us. And so it became a time for me where I was confused. I began to get a bit discouraged and quite frankly began to question God on, you've brought us here and the perception that the public eye has of us does not reflect this, what we're going through. But then I had to tap into my faith, had to tap into the why were we doing this and what we came out of that has brought us to where we were. And so I began to think about my son. And Daddy, don't give up. Daddy, Mommy needs you. Daddy, Mia's counting on you. Mackenzie's counting on you. Daddy, keep going. You're going to figure it out. So it was, those things were racing through my mind and it lit a fire in me. And there was a moment where I got on my knees and I just surrendered more because I was seeking clarity, seeking direction. And I was just seeking peace as well because my mind was clouded, right? I mean, you're dealing with $2-3 million in a hole. It's how do I get out of this hole, right? And position ourselves to growth, profitable growth. How do we do that? And so we were operating from a spirit of lack of resources, lack of structure. We're growing so fast, but we didn't have the appropriate personnel to help us in place, right? We were bootstrapping Mielle for the first, 5-6 years on our own. It was our funding.
Did y'all hear that?
So
10 plus years, and you're telling me for 5 or 6 of those, you guys were bootstrapping. You found yourself millions of dollars in debt, and you were on your knees. And as an entrepreneur, not on that level, I have felt those feelings of, is this the end? Is this it? Did you take me here to have me let it all go right here? I understand the surrendering to God, and you're like, God, just get me out one more time, and I promise I'll do right? But how did you actually, from a logistics standpoint, for the how did you say, okay, I have surrendered, I have the faith, this hurts, this scares me. All my insecurities are breeding themselves in my body right now because all signs say, let it go. How do you get yourself in a position to go, I know all the things I don't have the resources, don't have the mentor, don't know. How do you then get yourself in the position to surrender, to ask the right questions?
that's it.
To find the right people? You said personnel, and I thought, well, how do you hire personnel with no margins?
Yeah.
So how do you get yourself out of that space? Faith is one thing, execution is another.
Absolutely. And in that moment of surrendering, I began to get clarity. And for me, it was, you have only come to seek me when you were in need. But when you were growing and things were going well, you didn't acknowledge me. So in this moment, I'm going to humble you. And so we got humbled. I got humbled as a man, as the leader, and I was redirected. And so in that moment, in my time of meditation and prayer and surrendering, I got the whisper, you have not because you ask not. You were doing things your way based on the blessings of education or your educational level that you had in engineering and finance and logistics. You were doing things. So I'm one that's doing all things. I got it. I got this figured out. Wait, it's going. But you're still missing the most important thing. You're doing it your way, not my way. And I tell you, have not because you ask not. And the moment when that hit me, to be vulnerable and able to share what we're dealing with, things shift for us. And so then I was able to reach out, raise my hand, and reach out to individuals that have been where we were. And so our good friend, Rich Lou Dennis, who was the founder of Shea Moisture, was a huge advocate for us in the time of need for us. And quite frankly, when we reached out, or I reached out and told him what we were dealing with, he laughed at me. Because he's been where we were and said, all you have to do is pick up a phone call. I'm here. And I was just like, wow. But from that moment, we were able to overcome what we're dealing with. So we had Rich Lou and New Voices invest some seed capital into the brand. So that helped stabilize the brand and what we're dealing with in terms of financial deficit. But more importantly, the access, the resources, the mentorship that we began to get from leveraging their experience was invaluable for us. So I just think in that moment, I learned the idea or the blessing to just be vulnerable, to just be transparent. You know what you know what you don't know, right? And I also began to realize that I did not have to do everything, that it was okay to trust and delegate and bring people on board that were smarter than me, that were smarter in areas than me that I wasn't. And so I just learned that if you do those things, that God will put you in the right position, right? Because of your obedience and stewardship of being selfish.
So I heard so many things in that story specifically that are threaded through this podcast and the purpose of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so before I get into transparency and not being alone as a man, which is the core of this podcast, I think we have to backtrack to a thing that you did that I think is so important. Mm-hmm. That phone call. And I think that phone call is so much like, even your body language when you said it, you put your head down. Like when he laughed, you put your head down. It's so much more than just, I don't have to be alone. I think there's some people, there's some people listening that need to hear the part of, I'm already 5 or 6 years in business. I have this feeling in me that the general public thinks that I should have it together by now. And so there's a part of my ego that I have to release, not just because God humbled me and said so, but because me as a man, me as a leader, I have to say, I'm stuck. And if I hold on to this ego, I'm taking everybody down with me.
Right.
So as a leader, do I pound my chest and I got this and hold on tight, which we've seen that downfall too many times? Or can I let this go, humble myself, pick up the phone and say, I'm days away from bankruptcy. I'm days away from not being able to pay my staff. I thought I had this all figured out, and here I am in year 6, and it's not making sense. Like, can someone help me? What would your message be to men that find themselves stuck right now and they might have to say a hard thing to someone?
I would say transparency is everything. And I would say that your ego will become the path to your failure. Your ego will become the path to hurting someone else and their families. And I would say that your ego has no place in your heart. You have to let that go. You have to let your pride go, because what I've learned is that ego and pride, quite frankly, is just the devil working through you.
Mm.
And God has not given you the spirit of any form of ego. He's given you the spirit of no fear. Ego falls in the company of fear. He's given us love, power, and a clear, sound mind. And I think you deserve it to yourselves to be ego free, because your employees, your families, they're counting on you because you're their leader. And leaders lead by example. I would say if you continue to hold on to your ego, you continue to be disobedient to God.
Mm.
You continue to not please God. So that ego has to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm speaking from a place of experience, because I struggled with allowing the enemy to plant this seed of an egotistic mindset.
Get out of your own way.
Exactly. So it's get out of your way, let God intervene, and let Him order your steps and give you the power and the conviction to have transparency, because that is the key to victory.
So you used your transparency, your vulnerability, to not only be honest, but this gave you a blueprint. It created a network of supporters for you. So doing this very hard thing gave you the support, the family, the connections, the network, and the funding to not only stabilize, but basically change the trajectory for the next 5-6 years.
Exactly. So like I said earlier, my transparency of opening up, of sharing in totality all that we were dealing with, became our winning season, became the turning point from taking our brand to new levels, to allowing God to truly bless us exceedingly abundantly, what we could ever imagine and think, because we embraced the blessing of trusting Him, tapping into what the Bible says of leaning not towards our own understanding, but trusting in Him. Because in the moments of my egotistic ways of thinking, I'm doing things my way. I'm trying to figure out, I'm trying to understand. And this battle that I was fighting as a man began to stifle me, began to discourage me.
Just be smarter, Mel. Just be,
you know,
yeah,
like
just figure it out,
you'll
Mel.
figure it out.
Yeah.
Just those type of things were going through me. And I began to learn it's the simple things that I was making so difficult. And so what I would tell an individual that is struggling with this egotistical mindset is let that go. Let that go so you can grow. Let that go so the cycle stops, so that the chains become broken. Because where there's ego, there's no manifestation of the desires of your heart. So I learned that, and so I share that from my personal experiences. And I believe if God did it for me because of my obedience, not my confidence, my obedience and my stewardship in letting that ego go so that I can grow. Oh my God. Oh my God. And that's all it took.
I think one of the things that was really interesting to me early on in my entrepreneurial journey was I'm going to embarrass myself, but I think this is kind of part of something everybody goes through is I remember walking into rooms with people that I wanted to be like, that I admire, that inspired me, bigger, what we would consider elevated, bigger rooms, right? Like some of your mentors, and feeling the need to prove the minute I open my mouth, or the minute, well, I belong here. Let me say a thing so that everyone knows I belong here, right? Versus learning not too soon after, people that are where you want to be don't typically care about that. There is more connection and opportunity in asking the right questions, being what you're saying, being transparent about what you need, what you don't have. They want to problem solve. They want to help. They want to use their experience to hand you the blueprint.
Absolutely.
Versus you sitting next to them and saying, hey, I got this. Don't worry about me. It's a lot easier to come in and say, hey, I love this thing you're doing. I'm not there yet. Is there anything that you can share with me? And that took me, I would say, probably too long to catch on to. One of the many hard lessons that I learned on my journey. So with that being said, what would you consider the hardest lesson you've learned in business? And even the hardest lesson you've learned as a man?
So I would say the hardest thing that I had to learn in business was patience.
His time, not ours.
Absolutely. Because we would write the vision, make it plain. We would do the things that we were required to do.
Crickets.
Crickets. And we would market. We would do things to create extraordinary brand awareness, if you will.
This is the campaign. This is it.
But I'm not seeing traction.
Right.
I'm not seeing movement. I'm saying to myself, what's happening? And at times it became a bit frustrating. It became a bit discouraging for the good things that we were doing and serving, because we've always been about, and even to this day, serving others first before we think about selling consumer goods. But there were times to where what we were desiring wasn't happening. And we're saying, okay, we know we're onto something, but it's not happening. And so that was a struggle for me that I had to learn patience. Just embrace the process, because this delay is not your denial. This delay is just preparing you for what's to come. But I need you to trust the process. And for me, it was a struggle, because my mind is always racing. It's going. And I need things to happen, because I've always been an executor. I've always operated on these principles of execution over excuses. And I need it now. It's going. Let's go.
I'm putting it in. Why is it not coming out?
Right. So as I was inputting things, the output wasn't aligning to my input.
I call that the waiting room. And over time, I've had to, because you're screaming at my soul right now. I'm like, I can't tell you how many times I did the thing, or I was like, this is the thing, and then nothing. And then it is a long nothing. It is not like a few weeks nothing. It's been months or seasons of nothing, where I'm like, there's no way. And what I've had to tell myself over time is, when I'm in the waiting room, because it's a delay. It's not a denial. I heard you when you said that. I was like,
right.
It's a delay. While I'm in the waiting room, what if God has something so big for me that he put me in the waiting room to prepare for?
Right, but even in that moment when I was struggling with output from what I was putting in, I had to begin to realize that slow and steady wins the race. And that became my motto, our motto collectively, of just being persistent and consistent in delivering, because one day they will see us. They will see the work. It took me a while to align with that philosophy. It took me a while to understand that my persistence as a man, as a leader of our organization, will put me in position to break down my resistance, because I was resistant to the waiting room, right? The waiting room you just mentioned. I wasn't trying to hit it.
Take me straight to the doctor.
Exactly. So for me, that was a struggle, but I had to learn. I had to learn some of my most humbling moments in running the business. Good things do come for those who agree to the blessing of waiting, but continuing to remain steadfast, doing the good work, continuing to serve, even when things aren't going well. That is what I've learned it takes to be a successful, sustainable, impactful entrepreneur.
There is a book out there, and the name is slipping me, that talks about when the majority of people plan to climb a mountain, they are planning how to get to the top, as if that is the goal, and that the actual goal is to get to the other side alive. And that leads me to think about where you guys are now and making the decision to sell to Procter Gamble, transition, and continue to lead from a different seat, as well as kind of further foster your impact in the community and the ways in which you want to do things. There is a time to build, a time to scale, and there's a time to transition and step down. How did you guys know that it was the right time to make that decision?
Well, I would say we didn't know. It's hard to know when it's the right time.
Right.
Because for us, Mielle was our baby. Mielle was special, is special, and will always be special to us. So, in knowing how the creation and the idea of Mielle Organics came about, we could never let it go. And so for us, but for us, we always wanted more. My wife and I have always been aligned dreamers, wanting more than we could ever imagine since we were kids. We've always had that in us. We didn't know, quite frankly, how we would get there, but we always knew we would be there. Didn't know the timing, didn't know when the right time would be, but we would always be optimistic and encouraged on what that life would be. And, but for us, when we think about Mielle and wanting more and operating from a spirit of abundance and no limitations, we wanted global penetration in terms of market share for the brand, because we wanted our communities to know this story. We wanted to truly impact households. We truly wanted to not just break the glass ceiling, but shatter it to where the narrative would be shifted in terms of the idea of truly being able to go after it all. And so, being that we began to understand the fundamental requirements of serving and praise and worshiping God every step of the way of our entrepreneurial journey, in that it will touch households and that He will get the glory from that, was not just important for us. We began to understand it was a requirement of us. So I say all that to say, for us, when we thought about, even prior to Procter Gamble, when we made the decision to take on Series A money with Berkshire Partners, we understood what we were engaging, which quite frankly was a marriage. Obviously we had a historical transaction with them and so on and so forth. But more importantly, we began to understand that in order for us to accomplish the things that we set off in terms of global penetration, we needed help. And there was, quite frankly, a price to pay to get help, to help us in our communities, right? And so we did that. And the brand, post our transaction with Berkshire Partners, went to greater heights, right? So more resources, more senior staff level individuals that really helped us take the brand to new heights. And then a year and a half later from there, obviously we had the historical acquisition with Procter Gamble, because again, the idea was still there of worldwide globalization, household penetration for the Mielle beauty brand. But because the story we knew was so unique, many say, well, you guys are unicorns and it's unattainable. No, it is attainable, right? And so for us, we wanted folks to know that it is okay to start where you are. It is okay for you to not know, but it's not okay for you not to raise your hand, because we were going through it. We were 2-3 million in the hole. We were going through it, and we got through it. We on the other side of that deficit, and we won. And in that moment. And so, but for us, we felt the calling to, we have to do more. Like, we just don't want to keep this wisdom and this experience. We want to share it. And we needed help to share. And so what ultimately led to the decision around the idea of Procter Gamble was because we wanted this story, because for us it's legacy, and we needed help on a global scale to help share the story of the brand, more importantly, to help us position ourselves for the legacy of the brand. And so, again, the timing, it was just happening because, again, when I talked about, or you mentioned earlier about the waiting room, when we began to embrace, or myself, embrace the blessing of patience and just putting in the work, just understanding my purpose, my passion, and connecting all those things. Because the pain, we got out of that painful situation, but then when I began to understand my purpose, that it was unwrapped through that pain, and then that purpose was directly connected to our passion, God put us in position. And when we were in position, began to understand, for me, the power, the blessing of patience. And so I say that to say, when we made the decision with Procter & Gamble, it was a selfless decision because we wanted to shift the narrative around what many may have thought wasn't possible. We wanted to shift the narrative around the conversation in terms of wealth creation. And we understood it would come with some of its misconceived perceptions around the decision, but our faith was so strong because we were directed. And so, again, the timing, no one knows the time. No one knows the moment. Only God knows the time. But we felt it was the time, right? And so we tapped into our faith that allowed us to make the decision for what we felt wasn't within aligned with God's purpose for us, right? So that's how we were able to make the decision, because we didn't say, okay, 2023, we're now 2021, 22, 23, this is, no, we didn't know the time. It just happened because what happened was we got the phone call. We need to talk to Melvin and Monique and this Mielle brand because we can learn from them.
Yep.
Right? They can help elevate us.
But when I zoom out, I'm like, this makes so much sense, right? It's like, because it's like, when I look at it, I'm like, it's almost like you guys are in your, I would call it like your second wind, right? It's like, have you ever heard the thing where they say you have like 10 years of purpose and then you can have several passions and purposes in life? People sometimes have 3 to 4 versions of themselves that emerge, like iterations that they get to show up in. And I look at you guys and I'm like, you fulfilled this purpose. Then when it comes to a place where now you can lead from the experience of that purpose, kind of share that knowledge with the world, inspire, empower, pour into folks. It's like that job is done. Now it's been handed off to people that can do it even more abundantly. Now I can go do this other thing. And so, which leads me to, we are sitting on the Bless Code. You are now the founder of Stay Blessed Studios. You are now pouring into other men from a beauty brand, on the outside looking in, from a beauty brand to the Bless Code. Why?
I would say it's been my idea to staying open to receive the directions from our Creator. The Bible says, to whom much is given, much is required. Pain, purpose, passion, position. I put you in position. but I need you to help put them in position. I need you to encourage them to seek me first. I need you to encourage my sons to let go of that ego, that pride, those struggles, that addiction, that anxiety, the discouragement, the selflessness, the selfishness that they struggle with, the darkness that they living in, that ultimately leads to their brokenness. So I began to realize that there was a gap, and a gap in terms of allowing men to open up, allowing men to be vulnerable, a safe space to where we can have raw conversations that becomes transformational to the man, so that he gets on the path to his personal healing, so that God can be God and work through him to ultimately put him in position. Now, it's interesting, Jessica, because this wasn't a part of my plan. I never had a desire to be podcasting and to at this level, but it's amazing when you get that call. It's amazing when you begin to realize it's not about me being qualified. It's amazing to know that God has already qualified my calling, because he qualifies the call. But I can't even recognize that if I don't have my personal individual relationship with God. So that's what I began to learn and realize. And I began to even realize that even during the business, our tenure running Mielle, that there will be more. There will be more. There's not going to be, well, you're going to grow, you're going to scale, you're going to exit. You know, obviously we're still leading the company as CEO, COO, but obviously we have more resources and folks helping us continue to grow the vision. That has created room for us to do more of God's work, is how I like to articulate it. But more importantly, it's the urge, it's the fire to continue doing the good work. And so for me, I feel that God has ultimately allowed me and using me as a vessel to reach the lost, to help save souls, but most importantly, to help build the kingdom. And people all the time say, well, Melvin, do you have a church? Are you a pastor or anything? I get that all the time, but I like to say it's simply, it's marketplace ministry. It's something that, quite frankly, we all should be leading by. Because for God is, I'm with you. I've always been with you, but I feel like you're ashamed of me. I feel like you are ashamed to speak publicly about me. I've given you the greatest gift, which is life. I've given you life. I woke you up this day. This is my day. You should be rejoicing and giving me glory in this day. I woke you up, but you didn't even acknowledge me today because of your brokenness. And I understand where it stems from, but I'm still with you. But I'm going to use my son, Melvin, to help you seek me. So for me, in understanding that calling, I begin to lean in and just activate. Because again, I don't come from this space. This is new for me, but I have the courage to do what I am required to do with no fear. And so prior to the podcast, obviously I launched Stay Blessed Studios. And the idea really came from, it was more of a lateral move stemming from Mielle. So obviously being in the beauty space, because again, I had no desire of creating a men's barber salon. But now it was the idea, well, more. I require you to do more. And so for me, and knowing that God has blessed us exceedingly, and we acknowledge that even at our homes, it is M&M blessed. On our gates, M&M blessed. Our towels are embroidered, M&M blessed. We acknowledge our blessings, not just verbally, it's everywhere. We acknowledge it. And so the blessing is always upon me, and I acknowledge it and I honor it. And I'm a steward of that. And so when I had the idea or the vision to create Stay Blessed Studios, it was the idea of how can I create a space to where men will feel proud, men will feel welcome, men will feel relaxed and able to have conversations that are meaningful. Because when a man walks into Stay Blessed Studios, my goal is for them to not leave the same. So when you come in, you see the investment, you see the details, you see all these things that Melvin did for me. This doesn't exist. I've never seen a salon like this. This experience, these conversations, the godliness in this environment. I am inspired.
All I hear right now, it just got so. First, you were talking, and I was thinking, I hear you speaking in every man. But when I first was, got an opportunity to get on this project, I remember thinking, like, just transparently, I'm like, okay, barbershop podcast. Like, how do I work this marriage? But as I'm hearing you talk, I'm like, it's you creating safe spaces for men. It's you creating safe spaces for men where they can be seen, valued, heard, understood, no matter the space they are in their life.
See, Jessica, to that point, many may not understand the vision that God gives you until they understand. And they begin to understand by your fruits, by your consistency, by your authenticity.
Just do the thing.
Just do the thing. Just do the good work. At some point, those who need to understand, to receive, they will. So for me, it's the idea of, I've learned that there's no need to do things to be validated by man.
The way people think you should.
Right? There's no need for me to focus on one's opinion of me, because of the opinion that I have of myself is I've already been qualified. I don't need your qualifications. I don't need your validations. So for me, God has given me this vision. I'm going to execute this vision to the best of my ability. They'll get it. They'll see it. Because I do all things with excellence. And I do all things by faith, not by sight. But I seek understanding from him first in terms of how I go about doing things. And what I've learned is that if I don't know how to do certain things, I am humble enough to say, hold me accountable. Like I told you guys today, hold me accountable. Hold me accountable. Let me know. You
called it stewardship, which I appreciated.
Absolutely, because again, that's honor, right? So it's those are the things that I've learned to truly embrace, and that's that.
I think the best way to end this episode, it's in us. It's in our DNA to create things that we wish we had, right? Whether that is community, support, connection, opportunities. We, by nature, create things when we have resources that we wish we had. I want you to look at that camera and talk to the man that is where you were. What does he need right now? By listening to the Blessed Code, I hope that
God gave me this vision, brother. He gave me this vision to help you, to encourage you, to allow God to work through you. He gave me this vision to allow you to no longer operate from the spirit of lack, but of abundance and understanding. He's given me this vision to encourage you to embrace the power of conviction, not for you to seek perfection, but for conviction to give you direction. And when I think about my life, my story, my journey, my brokenness, my frustration, my discouragement, my times of feeling incapable, my times of feeling less than, my times of feeling like I don't belong in this room, my times of feeling that I didn't matter, my hurt. I grew up in a single family household. I was raised by my dad. I didn't have my mom. I didn't see my mom. And even to this day, I don't know my mom. But I honor my mom. I love my mom. But it was a struggle for me for so long of not having the love of a mother. I don't even know what it's like to have a mom. But I love her. But through that brokenness, it gave me this resilience as a man. It inspired me or encouraged me to, whenever I would have children with my significant other, that we will raise our children together as a family with love, with honor, and no chaos. Because God is a God of love, honor, and no chaos. And so I began to embody those things. And if you have a similar or a relatable example as mine, I encourage you that it's okay. Because God is still with you. He'll always be with you. He'll never leave you. He'll never forsake you. And I just want you to know, my brother, it ain't too late. I want you to know you may experience delays, no's, many no's, but that's not the final say-so. That's not your denial. And if you're stuck right now, do what I did. Raise your hand. Because you have not, because you ask not. And lastly, I want to encourage you to embrace the blessing of being honest, the blessing of being transparent, the blessing of being vulnerable. In all seriousness, let go of that pride, let go of that ego. Because if you are a father like I am, your children are counting on you. Your children are counting on you to lead by example. Your children are counting on you to break those chains. We know our struggles. We know our pain. We know what we've been through. We know what our parents have been through. But just because we've been through those things and they've been through those things doesn't mean our children have to go through those things. My brother, your families are counting on you. They are counting on your yes. Your yes to let go. Your yes to lead. Your yes to not thinking you aren't qualified. So I want to encourage you to let God be God and work through you, because the generations to come are counting on you.
Thank you, Melvin. I think we
got it. I think we did it.
Your purpose code.
I think we did it.
We did it.
We unlocked the purpose because we are here for purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important for us to acknowledge and understand what is our purpose.
And this is one of your many yeses.
That's right. That's right.
Thank you, Melvin.
Anytime. But I think also, I like to say it's obviously allowing my producer to put me in a hot seat.
In the hot seat.
And answer the questions for our men to know a bit more about myself. And so I think this was very important. And I believe it will be extremely valuable for men to know a bit more of my story, so on and so forth. So great job, Jessica.
Yeah. You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for joining this episode of The Bless Code. Living by His Code is a journey full of grace, growth, and opportunities to bless others. If today's episode spoke to you, please share this powerful message, and don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and connect with us on social to stay grounded, grateful, and blessed. Until next time, keep your faith strong, your heart open, and live life you're destined for. I'm your host, Melvin Rodriguez, and you just unlocked another Bless Code.